Bring in host of My View, Lara Trump. Such a sad day, isn't it?
I mean, devastating, Jesse. I think the entire country feels the pain of this. We're all heartbroken. And I'll tell you, for those of us in the Trump family, I don't think we realize truly how raw what happened on July 13th of last year still kind of was for all of us. I can tell you, when I heard this news, I felt almost the exact same way as I did in the moments after we saw my father-in-law get shot on stage in Butler. It's devastating, obviously, because we lost a great human being in Charlie Kirk. But I think it's also devastating because, to your point in your intro, if we are not able to have conversations about the hard topics in America, if we aren't able to freely speak our mind, then what kind of country are we at the end of the day? Can we even call ourselves the United States of America again anymore? Charlie Kirk, I think all of us in our family have known for almost a decade. This was a person who was bold and brave and unafraid to speak his mind. I went with Charlie to my alma mater one time, NC State, and we were holding a kind of a debate there with the student body. And before we even arrived, they made it very clear they were going to protest us being on campus. And Charlie called me and he said, listen, I'm in if you're in, but if you feel uncomfortable about doing this, I understand, I'll do it myself. We went through with it. We had a great event there, and he truly changed this country. He gave people strength and spirit and encouragement. And as a former RNC co-chair, I can tell you the movement he made with young Americans to be more conservative, to lean more right, to be bold and brave in their values and convictions and speak loudly about them. I don't think it can be overstated. I don't know that Donald Trump would be president right now without Charlie Kirk. And so my heart goes out to his wife, Erica, his young children, his family. We in the Trump family know this feeling, except it turned out the right way for us, and obviously devastatingly did not for Charlie.
So unfortunately, we have to say that this assassin is still at large. Kash Patel just announced the subject in custody has been released after an interrogation by law enforcement. Our investigation continues and will continue to release information in the interest of transparency. The FBI's got a tough job ahead. Just looking at the geography of this campus, this person could be anywhere. It's surrounded by mountains, highways, airports. It's tough. We expect them to apprehend this person, and they should serve the ultimate price, which is the electric chair or firing squad, which is an option in the state of Utah. Lara, the feeling that your family had, I think everybody in the country felt that way. I've never received more text messages since Butler than I have today from friends and family across the nation. That tells you a lot about Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, and I've heard other people, who were on Fox programming before your show talk about the fact that they thought that Charlie could have been president one day. I don't think that's an overstatement at all. I think a lot of us looked at him in that way. This is a person who changed the country. In a lot of ways, you can say Charlie Kirk changed the world. He touched so many different people. But I'll tell you one thing. Last week, I heard Joy Reid talk about the assassination attempt on my father-in-law, in which one person, Jesse, died. Corey Comparator lost his life that day in Butler. And she seemed to question whether or not it was actually real. You look at the rhetoric and the, kind of normalizing of political violence out there from the left. And sadly, I guess it's not surprising to find ourselves in this spot. While Charlie wasn't a politician, we know he fought for conservative values. And that's what he championed day in and day out. When you have the Maxine Watters of the world saying, get up in their faces if you see them at a gasoline station, when you have these people continually beating the drum that conservatives are evil, Donald Trump is evil, what do you expect to happen? It's time to bring down that rhetoric. It's time to stop saying these things that these people know full well is not legitimate.
Well, and you just had Dowd over at MSNBC, Lara, say that Charlie deserved it. And what did MSNBC do? They just said, oh, yeah, we're sorry. That's it. Still has a job there. He'll probably be on their air later next week.
Yeah, there have to be consequences for these people because obviously there are consequences to the things that they say. We saw it happen today. It's absolutely devastating. There will never be another person like Charlie Kirk. I feel so grateful that I got to know him as well as I did, that, our family got to spend as much time with Charlie as we did, that he allowed me to come to so many of his turning point events to see the real change, Jesse, that he was making, the way he touched so many young people. You go to those events, I know you've been to them. There are thousands of people. You can't even see the back of those crowds. It was really incredible what one person was able to do. And sadly, he died doing what I believe God put him on this earth to do, which was to spark debate and to talk about the tough things. He gave us all courage to do it. And what an incredible loss, a hole and a void that will never be filled.
Absolutely. And I'll be at that Turning Point event, which is in December. And that'll be a great place to honor him and his memory and carry that memory forward into the future. Lara, good to talk to you. Thank you so much.